Hey there, friendos. Newbornkilik here, welcoming you back to another awesome weekly dose of nostalgia. Today we're going to be taking a look at what happens if you go use the 4th day glitch and continue on the flow of time up until day 7. Now, this actually did come from a commenter, name will be on screen at the moment, and they had brought up the idea that Majora's Mask was actually a 7-day game, and I don't remember where I heard this information from, but at some point during the beta, potentially, I cannot find this information. Could be the Berenstain-Berenstein's effect, on us all. But at some point in development, the idea is that Majora's Mask was actually set to take place over an entire week, so 7 full days. What if we actually saw day 7 just to see what it's like? And this is, of course, the following. There are some rather interesting things that happen, so stay tuned. First and foremost, the stone that gave us a pause for cause at the end of last episode is fortunately all gone. What time of day is it? Like, obviously it's day, but what day is it technically? One would assume it probably resets back to the first day when you enter the 4th day, but really we don't actually know. As we'll see in the graveyard later, we have no day. We are officially dayless, at least for right now. We'll kind of get into why that will make sense a little bit later, but there are weird oddities about this that don't really make sense. Like Dampa here is just kind of moving at such slow speeds, and he's like half the frame rate. While we're here, I think I managed to find the most annoying pattern for the birds or geese to take in their chirping. Shut up! Overall, this fight actually went down without a hitch, but I always thought it was interesting how he says, "May I be released, sir?" and then just bleh. He just dies. Now, of course, my first thought here was this is going to take a very long time. I am not waiting here for 7 full in-game days, but as it turns out, that will be what we're doing, at least until we find an alternate method, because playing the Song of Double Time actually softlocks the game. Looks like we're taking the slow route. Sorry, my boy, I'm too busy being literally invincible on the back of my horse. Tank horse. Not tank and horse. He's a motherfucking tank and a motherfucking horse. Reminds me of one of the old Newgrounds song. I don't know why that was stuck in my head for so long, but I'm glad I got it out. I got it out onto you, and now it's stuck in your head. You're welcome. One of the most interesting parts about the 4th day glitch, and we are on the 4th day glitch, is that a lot of the people in Clocktown are actually just completely missing. So, people in the milk bar were not here. Some of the people in the mayor's office also are just completely missing, which is honestly probably the weirdest part about all this, is Clocktown is all but empty, with the exception of a handful of NPCs. Okay, this actually legitimately spooked me the first time I came in here. I come into an empty room, and just this. So normally when you hear all this chatter, there's a bunch of people arguing in this room about what to do about the moon falling. But in this case, it's just the mayor just sitting there with his hands on his head, just dealing with what I assume to be are his own insane thoughts. Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Now, I'm not saying specifically that Link is also insane because he can hear this man's thoughts, but I'm exactly saying that. Moving forward, if you can picture this scene, there's actually supposed to be a bunch of different camera angles looking at different people, but at this point, it just kind of hangs there, and it's really weird. It's kind of like the camera person is, a B student in college at best. Finally, I did decide to speed time back up. I was hoping it wasn't going to crash the game, and luckily, we can go at full speed, but we still have a 7-day trek ahead of us. As I said, even Anju is absent from Castletown. It kind of sparks an interesting idea in my head. What if we complete certain quests that would essentially change the world around us in this time? Like, what would be different, I guess is kind of my idea. Would I be able to access the room? And would Anju and Kaifei actually be in the room? My assumption at this point was that they were probably at Romani Ranch, because if you actually go to the 3rd day, I think I remember you being able to find them there at Romani Ranch on the 3rd day. Another interesting quirk about it is that every time you enter a game area, or like a leisure area in Clocktown, the game kind of hangs and doesn't really know what to do. I'm guessing it's just because the NPCs are gone and the game doesn't really know what to do. And if you enter the shooting range, you just crash the game. I don't know what's so different about the shooting range guy that has to be there, but It's a fact. If you're looking for sort of like a timeline as to when this day may appear, although it would be the 4th day, technically it is the 4th day, there is no statue here. So in the lore of it or whatever, a little mini theory here for you, you could almost say this day actually happens before there are any moon problems at all, just simply because, well, the statue was definitely here on day 3, and now it's just not. Which is honestly one of the most interesting parts about this glitch, is that this structure just disappeared, along with most of the people around. So my thought is that this in code must be taking place either, spooky outside of time. Ooh, Link's dead theory again. Here we go. If this took place before Link and Majora and, the Happy Mask Salesman arrived, it would make sense the crowd wouldn't be nearly as clogged up with people. Who's here? The festival is about to begin. No one's here yet. They're all preparing at home or whatever. Realistically, though, it's probably just tied to an event, so it's gone. Give the dog a bath, they said. And now we'll talk to the Happy Mask Salesman. A good idea, I'm sure. And it was at this point I decided to push the bounds a little bit more than maybe I should have. If you subscribe to the whole Jadoozable thing, you'd know that this right here is a terrible, terrible idea. However, we made it back unscathed. This time, he reminds me that I will have terrible things that will befall upon me if I do not recover his property, which I'm pretty sure is just beating me up or strangling me again. He may do that, which, rude. Also, I'm unhappy about the fact that the internet said that if I talked to the Happy Mask Salesman, the game would crash, and yet here we are. In true Newbornkilik fashion, I decided to whip out the old cheat engine, hop over this gate here, and I'm looking to get back behind this gate here and into the twisty hallway. Pretty simple, all we have to do is just moon jump our way out of bounds and into the loading zone, and with that, we're there. We can actually go back through the twisty hallway, and it's a lot creepier from this side, mostly because it's not well rendered from this side. I really wanted to get past this gate. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a way, and even if I could, there's probably not much over there. Another interesting thing about this entire game is that anytime you trigger that loading zone, you actually trigger this entire cutscene. Oh, and recloses the gate, by the way. Double check with the Happy Mask Salesman, and moving forward. Oh. What? I'm kidding! I put that in there. That was me. Not the game. I did that. That was me. Are you proud of me yet? I put the silly joke in there. It's kind of interesting. We can only tell what time it is based off of what is actually closed. I've wanted to get this bottle since I was a kid. My childhood is ruined. I was kind of curious as to whether or not the Scarecrow would actually crash the game just like the Ocarina did, but as it turns out, it's perfectly fine. We can just use the Scarecrow to advance up to day 7. A wonderfully blank transition screen, which isn't creepy at all, no worries, and we're on to the night of day 4. Given that I don't have any in-game way to take care of tracking these days, I actually had to whip out the old pen and paper and do it myself. Given that we are on day 4, in order to get to day 7, we only actually need to go through 3 more cycles. For those of you that don't know, when you come here on the 3rd day, the Sword Guru guy here is actually cowering in his back stockroom. I just always thought that was a really interesting thing that you really wouldn't know unless you explored around purposely on day 3. However, as we can see right here, he is MIA, very gone. Something that can kind of prove that this 4th day here, 4th night in this case, actually falls out of the timeline is that a lot of the time-sensitive events, or at least so far, all of the time-sensitive events just don't exist. Dampé was indeed here earlier, however, the 3 skeletons, the 3 stall kids that circle around these graves are just gone. Being who I am, I decided to moon jump into one of these graves here and just kind of see what we could get into trouble-wise down there. It's kind of interesting. I actually found out that this is solid ground for some reason. You would never be able to get back here, but it's solid. With a couple of tries, we did manage to get into the loading zone for the first grave, and by extension, to the second grave, because you didn't know they're actually connected. In this grave, for the first time, I actually heard the bells, meaning that time was still progressing as normal, and thus we enter into the dawn of the 5th day. Unfortunately, I cannot progress past this area here because I don't have any fire arrows and I cannot pause the game to get any. Unfortunately, the graves were very standard. Your standard basic graves? Now, apparently for some reason, whenever I dance with a scarecrow, I come to find out I actually can open the pause menu, which opens up a lot of different options. One dance with a scarecrow later and we head into the night of the 6th day. It's kind of interesting to note, at least Zora's domain here is relatively untouched. All the people are still here, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. Clock Town was essentially, ground zero for where the moon was going to collapse, and people thought that if you went to Romani Ranch, then you'd be safe. Zora's domain, or Zora's Hall, is much further out. The Great Bay is much further away than the ranch, so it kind of makes sense. Or who in the world would be here at this time? Us. You and me. If you save at an owl statue, you get this weird glitchy heart instead of the day icon. So there's that. And finally, we find ourselves at the 7th day. The 7th day total is technically the dawn of a new day? This fills me with questions. Do we have time now? Are we back in the timeline? Are people around again? I have no idea what's going on at this point, and honestly, this one moment here just filled me with hope for this entire thing, and honestly, it brought it around for me. Day 7 is the day. The day. Unfortunately, nothing is different. Heading over to Romani Ranch, looking for my favorite pair of people here in the entire game, of course. They're gone. They are just gone with the aliens, probably wiped out by the moon that crashed into Termina. Why was I spared? Why are we left here? Just to suffer. God. Now, I did kind of think it was interesting that the quote-unquote inside of the barn here is just dead space, which makes sense. Throughout normal gameplay, you'd never see that, but still, they could have put some grass or something there, laid down some turf, made it, a nice place. Instead, you're falling into the damn sky. After gaining entrance to this place, my first thought was, at least we can still race dogs. Nope. You can't, and if you tried to, well, this lady just creepily stares and tracks you very well. She had nothing to say, but she is laser focused on you until you leave, which I would recommend doing with all kinds of haste. Unfortunately, even on day 7, there's really nothing going on here. My thought was that most of the people would be here because on day 3, people do end up retreating to Romani Ranch. So my thought was, people should be here. And yet nobody was. They died. One more dance and I figured the 7th night would be the perfect time to confront the enemy, wondering exactly what would be different. However, it seems as if the fight here, unfortunately, is basically just a set of triggers. No matter when you actually do them, it all kind of triggers in sequence. I decided to just go to the moon myself. It ended about as well as you'd think it did. I got bored and yeeted myself off the edge. Turns out the death plane is very low because no one's dumb enough to actually be able to fall off here. Well, this was absolutely a bust. Day 7 did nothing for us. However, seeing that day 7 basically didn't do anything except quote-unquote give us a new day, I just went ahead and decided to go to day 14. I would pass an entire week in this timeless state after everyone had basically died, in purgatory essentially, just to see what happened. And if I were some clickbait YouTuber, I would say, the results will surprise you, the rumors will shock you, the gameplay will be amazing and everyone will love it and they'll all subscribe, which you should do. Luckily for you, I'm not that kind of person. Still subscribed though. Basically nothing was different. However, after day 7, every day is the dawn of a new day, which is kind of motivating in a weird way. Like every day is a new day, and even though, all your friends are dead, the greedy banker lady's still out there and you can still make a living for yourself, I guess is what's going on. Some say Link is still dancing with that scarecrow to this day, constantly moving time forward, passing by the sands of the hourglass. Will he ever find his dawn of a new day? For when every day is the dawn of a new day, is any day truly a new day? Yes. In fact, they all are. Anyway, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It does help me out an awful lot. If you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribe.